Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is the Reate Baby Machine. This is a knife designed with Tashi Baruchi, and it is a collaboration between Dave Deng of Reate Knives and Tashi. So there was a larger version of this knife, which had a significantly bigger blade and a bigger handle, obviously. This is the smaller version, and this is a knife that I have carried and quite enjoyed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and talk about the specs and materials, and then I will talk about whether what I like and what I don't like about the knife. So let's start out first. First, this is a beautifully machined 3D sculpted titanium handle. There are two colors here. I got the stonewashed blue, and as you can see, there's little highlights inside here on these holes. They give it a little bit of a stylish flair. And there's also some kind of, I want to say like gold underneath here. I don't know exactly, but I've used this knife enough to put some wear marks on it, and when it wears, it comes out like shiny underneath. So that's pretty cool. As you can see, the back is very unusual. Until I flipped it over, I kind of thought that it might be an integral, and I was like, no, I remember seeing the specs. It's not an integral. The machining that Reate does on the handles is just some of the best in the business. I mean, their machining tolerances are right up there with Christie's knives. So it is actually two pieces. They're just very finely mated together. On the reverse side, on the obverse side, the clip side, you can see that this is a frame lock. It has an over travel stop right there, a replaceable lock face, which, as I've said before, is really kind of useless because no one replaces them. You can see there, this is a knife made with RWL 34 steel. The steel was designed by Robert W. Lovelace. It's produced in Europe, and it is an excellent blade steel. It's a powder steel, so it's basically CPM 154 if you look at the recipe and the fact that it's made using powder metal technology. This runs a sculpted titanium pocket clip, which I hate. I hate all of them, almost all of them. This one's okay, it's not great. And it has a 3.2-inch blade, and the knife comes in just over 4 ounces. So it's kind of a chunky knife in the pocket. Let me show you a comparison to the Benchmade mini grip. So here's the Benchmade mini grip. As you can see, it's a little bit longer. It's just a smidge thicker, and I really think the thickness comes not in the handles, but in the blade steel. The blade steel on the Tashi Baby Machine is quite thick. Let's see if we can line them up there. And there you go. So the blade steel is noticeably thicker on the Baby Machine. Let's show you a comparison between this knife and a regular AA battery. So you have a good sense of how big. I mean, this thing is pretty big. The fact that it's curved makes it fit in your hand and your pocket a little bit better, but it's a pretty big knife. I mean, even closed, it kind of makes the mini grip look midgety, and the mini grip's a good mid-sized blade. So let's talk about what I like. First of all, I really like the opening hole. So when I first got this knife, I sort of ignored all of the internet so that I didn't spoil it, and I tried to figure out like how to do it. And you can open it that way. You can sort of use it as like a spider hole. But after some flipping, I realized this is the first knife I've ever seen that's designed to be deployed the way you do the Spidey flick with your middle finger. So that's how you open the knife. If you notice, your finger fits in there perfectly, like the fat pad of your finger just rides right in there, and you pop this knife open. It's on a bearing pivot, so it flies out of there. Not only that, but your hand is right in the ready position. This is one of the more innovative features I've seen on a pocket knife in the past 3 years. I really like this opening. It does make the knife look a little weird, but you know, the whole knife looks weird anyway. So the innovation here trumps the aesthetics. I'd much prefer something that looks sleeker, but man, is that cool. The other thing I really like is I like the handle shape. As you can see here, this isn't really a finger choil, but it does give you a really great index notch for these two fingers, and it places your finger right here behind this harpoon tip, the swedge, and it gives you great control. I mean, even with your fingers in the knife, you can still get it really close to the cutting surface. You can use pretty much this whole cutting edge, which is hard to do on a lot of knives. I mean, like, look at this knife. In order to do that, I have to move my hands way back here. With this knife, you can get the whole cutting edge in on the action, and that's really great. I also like the style. I mean, it's not my style. It's a little flashier than I carry, and I like to carry, but it's very, very well done. Everything here is excellent. It looks nice. It's very clean. Dave Dang and Reate do some of the best knives, the best looking knives on the market, and it's not just because they use flashy materials, though they do. It also happens to be because they really tuned their machines to make everything look gorgeous and beautiful. And this is a knife that is just absolutely fun to play with and handle. It's one of my favorite knives to fidget with. So some of the things I don't like, well, I really don't like this pocket clip. It's just too much. It looks really shiny. It's obvious in the pocket. If you carry this knife anywhere with you, people are going to know that you're carrying a knife because no pen has a pocket clip that freaking ugly. It does have good spring tension. That's not a problem. It's just outlandish, sort of garish. And like, of all the things to leave, this satin finish, this shiny satin finish, it should not be the pocket clip. But whatever. The other thing I really didn't like about this knife, I don't like the blade thickness, and I don't like the grind. I think they could have done a better job with the grind. Maybe what they could have done is they could have made the main cutting bevel. Let's see if I can hit it right here. Bring that up a little bit, and that gives you a little bit more of a cutting edge. Let me show you what I mean. If you look at this and you compare it to something like, no, oh, here we go. Take a look compared to this knife. Look how much wider the actual cutting bevel is. Let's see if I can hit it. Look at that. It's so much wider than that guy. And the reason that I say that should do that is because you can actually get a relatively thick blade to be a good slicer if you back that actual cutting bevel up. And they're talking really thick blade stock. The other thing is, I'm not exactly sure why they didn't go with a full flat grind. I mean, this little part here is really the only indication that it's not a full flat grind, and it doesn't do anything. If you started that grind a little higher, maybe you could get it thinner. This knife did not slice, but it popped apples. I wasn't super thrilled with that. I'd like to see this knife be slicier. I'd also like to see the knife just be thinner. If they took off, 32nd of an inch, a 16th of an inch on this blade thickness, the whole knife would be thinner. It'd be easier to carry. You'd probably get under that magical 4-ounce mark, which is probably the upper limit for a knife I would regularly carry. Overall, I really like the knife. It's very stylish. I love, love, love the opening method. This knife is like the greatest thing in the world to flick with and play around with. It's beautiful. It's kind of funky, and I appreciate how well it's made. I just wish it was a little thinner and a little slicier because I like to use my knives. So that was a video overview of the Reate baby machine. I believe by the time I recorded this, a review of this knife is already up on the website. So go on over and take a look. Thanks.